When we think of Europe's great wars, we usually imagine generals, emperors, and revolutions. Yet behind every battlefield stood something quieter, but just as powerful as cannons: finance. In the 19th century, one of the most influential financial forces at the center of Europe was the Rothschild family. But how exactly did the Rothschilds finance Europe's wars? And why did governments trust them with such enormous responsibility? The story begins in the narrow streets of Frankfurt. Mayor Amschel Rothschild started as a modest coin dealer in the late 18th century. His true genius, however, was not in selling gold. It was in building networks of trust, intelligence, and coordination. He sent his 5 sons to Europe's key financial capitals: London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt. Together, they created a tightly connected, family-controlled banking network that spanned the continent at a time when most banks operated only locally. This network possessed one of the fastest private communication systems in Europe. Couriers on horseback, coded letters, merchant vessels, and trusted agents ensured that crucial information, especially news of war, reached Rothschild offices with remarkable speed. In an era where delays of days or even hours could shift market prices dramatically, early information was a decisive advantage. Speed meant power, and power meant influence. During the Napoleonic Wars, nearly every European state faced severe financial strain. Armies expanded into the hundreds of thousands, supply chains stretched across borders, and prolonged campaigns drained national treasuries. Governments were desperate for liquidity. Tax systems were slow and politically risky, and printing money often led to inflation. Borrowing from established financiers became the most practical solution. In London, Nathan Rothschild emerged as a central figure. He organized large-scale financing operations for the British government and facilitated payments to Britain's continental allies. But financing war in the early 19th century was logistically complex. Gold had to be purchased, insured, transported, and delivered across hostile territories. The Rothschild network managed these movements with precision, ensuring that armies received wages and supplies were paid on time. Yet the family's most lasting contribution was not simply moving gold. It was mastering the sovereign bond market. By underwriting and distributing government bonds to private investors, the Rothschilds provided immediate capital to states while spreading risk across the market. Investors, in return, received interest payments backed by government credibility. This mechanism transformed war finance. States were no longer limited to taxation or emergency levies. They could tap into international capital markets. The famous legend surrounding the Battle of Waterloo illustrates the power of information. According to popular accounts, Nathan Rothschild learned of Napoleon's defeat before the official announcement reached London. Whether exaggerated or not, the story reflects a broader truth. The family operated at the intersection of information and capital. Market confidence, timing, and credibility became strategic tools as important as cannons and cavalry. Throughout the 19th century, the Rothschild banking houses financed not only Britain, but also Austria, France, and Prussia. They supported governments across ideological lines, monarchies and constitutional regimes alike, focusing less on politics and more on repayment capacity. Beyond wartime loans, they invested heavily in railways, mining, and infrastructure. In doing so, they helped modernize Europe's economies while strengthening state finances. It is crucial to clarify: the Rothschilds did not cause wars. They responded to them. However, by building a reliable transnational credit system, they enabled states to wage prolonged conflicts without immediate fiscal collapse. This introduced a new dynamic in European politics. Financial credibility became as important as military strength. A government that defaulted on its debt risked isolation from international markets. From a money archivist perspective, the Rothschild story represents a turning point in financial history. The emergence of integrated capital markets meant that warfare, state building, and banking became deeply intertwined. Sovereign debt evolved into a permanent feature of governance rather than a temporary emergency measure. In the end, the Rothschild family were not merely hidden financiers of Europe's wars, they were architects of a new financial architecture. Their system linked governments, investors, and markets into a single continental network. Generals may have decided battles, but bankers ensured the wars could continue long enough to reshape Europe.